Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for not only the week of the 23rd through 29th, because there's not a lot going on this week, but also the month of April, just for the outer planet activity on that. So couple things in April I want to talk about, and then there's a couple things this week I want to talk about. The main thing this week is the sun is going to lock into the Saturn Pluto sextile, which, if you saw the monthly for this month, is exact this week on Saturday. So that's going to really trigger that. And then we have Venus conjunct its annual conjunction to Chiron this week also. That's the main things I'm going to talk about, and I'll look at the April forecast too. And just a couple things first for business. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog. That's a YouTube channel. It's been a YouTube channel for 6 years or so now. If you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, I'd really like you to become a follower. And when you become a follower, please don't forget to turn on your notifications, or it's kind of pointless. It's just like a notch on the belt. And it's like, if you become a follower and you're not really watching the blog, then what's the whole point, right? So turn the notifications on, and remember, that way you'll be reminded every week, hey, the blog is up. And remember too, it is on podcast. I notice a lot more people in the last few months have been going the podcast way, which, remember, it frees you up. I know our lives are busy, so that you be driving to work and you get to listen to the blog, but you can't have your eyes on it. But it's the same exact audio version of this video. So that's another option. Just go to your iPhone or your phone, hit that app that's for the podcast, look up Astrological Winds channel. You'll find several places that offer it. Buzzsprout puts it out. And also, if you do Instagram, Astrological Winds channel has its own Instagram account. Become a follower, and then it'll show up in your newsreel, the link every week, and that way, and it'll take you to the YouTube channel. And the other way to always find all my blogs, including ones from the past, is on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. I usually have at least 3 months back. I do keep the annual ones up there. I keep other ones up there that are special. So if you need to refer back to a monthly or something, it's there for you. Plus, that has all my professional services on my website. I've been a professional astrologer for 24 years now. And when you're ready to get your chart read, or you need some astrological service, or you know someone, you can refer them to the page. The prices are there. I can work with you if you need to do payments. And also, just really important right now, I'm about getting ready to start a beginner's class live, and I really want you to join it too. If you've been thinking about it, now is the time. We've got all this new energy starting. I'm going to do it. It looks like we have at least 3 dedicated people. We're really looking for one more at least, but the more the merrier. I'm probably meet 3 or 4 times a month for an hour and a half about, and really get into astrology deeply, and I'll teach you guys the way that I was taught. You can really build a solid foundation up over time. So looking for that, so anyway, just wanted to remember, I want everybody now, remember, it's a free service. It actually costs me a little money. I really want to keep doing this, and what I need you to do is pass the link on to somebody else when you're done. Even if you've done it before, I need you to do it again, okay? Please do that. And remember, if you're not familiar with astrology terms, don't get lost on the terms that I'm speaking. You just want to hear the what the energy means, so that you have that knowledge. Knowledge is power. And when we have power, we can control the energy in our lives. That's what astrology is really all about, you guys, is just learning to control the energy in your life more, so that your life is more self-fulfilling. So I really hope that the blog helps you do that. And I would love to do that, help you do that on a personal level when you're ready for that too. Okay, so just a couple things. I've been really into reviewing the things. And gosh, what a Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Just like so much confusion in the world, right? So much division in the world over ideas and beliefs. It's like really, it's come to such a strong point, and I've been, showing some examples in the last couple weeks of how this stuff is playing out. And I saw a couple other things that really caught my eye about, wow, talk about Mercury retrograde in Pisces. I saw some news out of Russia. So if you're from Russia and you're listening to the blog, you can, maybe you're not able to actually, based on what I heard, is that the Russian government actually shut down most of the internet and even cell phones service in Moscow and in many other areas, because they're afraid that that stuff is being used by the Ukrainians to hone in their drone attacks. So people were supposedly walking around Moscow, did not know what anything that was going on. Like they literally had no source of information that was available to them. Talk about Mercury retrograde in Pisces, right? I mean, wow, you guys. So if you're out there and you're from that area, maybe you can let us know in the comments if how that played out for you. But yeah, and then in the U.S. again, what about the situation at the airports right now? What about confusion for that, not knowing how long you need to get there ahead of time because of the lines being, the TSA guys not really being paid right now. And so, man, a lot of confusion in travel based on, people entrenched about ideals and we can't pay these guys. So we just like really biting ourselves in the foot, aren't we? A lot these days, all of us together, and the things that we're allowing to continue to like play. Oh, we got to take control of the energy, take it back, right? Like first for ourselves, and then that just ripples out across the rest of the world. So hopefully that's what the blog helps you guys do. All right, so let's get into the weekly here, and it's really just, well, there's going to be one other thing I do mention, but the main thing is Wednesday is when the sun exactly conjunct Saturn and exactly sextiles Pluto, and their exact sextile is on Saturday. And if you saw the monthly, I talked about this aspect in the monthly. It was one of the big things of this month. And I think I mentioned it in the yearly one too, because it was one of the outer planet. I'm sure I did. It was one of the outer planet aspects of this year. So the sun being one of the inner planets is really going to activate this very poignantly this week. And this is really good energy to work with, in general. Once again, with the Saturn Pluto alone, this is a time where we can be very strong. We can be very, like, it's the energy of endurance. It's like we're being tested by tough times. And this brings out this very, like, strong, tenacious energy of, yes, I'm going to get through this, and gives us incredible focus too, where we can really, channel the energy and really focus it really, really well. And there's like a lot of understanding in this one of what's actually driving you, and therefore you can achieve a lot because you really have a lot of self understanding that's going on. And this is a time where we really focus in on what's important to us right now. It's a time where we're willing to let go of a lot of the fluff in our life so that what's important can really be focused on. And that's why we become a lot more effective in what we're doing because of that focus. It's a time where, these two together are very willing to work hard to achieve what they want to achieve. And therefore, this is super productive energy. It really is. And at the same time, too, a lot of the achievements are in the outer world. But at the same time, it's like what we're learning a lot, too, from our own experiences of what we're doing and living up to duties and responsibilities. And therefore there's a lot of inner growth too that's happening based on that. We're actually gaining a lot of wisdom. And the thing is too, one of the things about this one too is you can get recognition for the productiveness for the work that you're doing. So like people who may be in higher positions than you can see how productive you're being. So this is a time when you can really, have an opportunity. Remember, it's a sextile. I told you guys over and over, it's a sextile are opportunities, but if you don't take them, then they just kind of go by. But this is a chance where we can really propel ourselves forward. And then you get the sun, triggering this. So, like, you remember last week, it was actually on Sunday, which was yesterday, the sun conjuncted Neptune. And if you've been following the blog and know astrology, Saturn and Neptune have pretty much been conjunct for a year now, right? So, of course, since Saturn, the sun just conjuncted Neptune, that means right afterwards, a couple days later, since Saturn's moving a little faster, it's gotten a little ahead of Neptune now. It's conjuncting Saturn now. And this is a time where we are very responsible, where we see and recognize the duties that we have in the world and are willing to meet them. And so it gives us a really good attitude. We live up to what we're supposed to do. And because of that, once again, what that does is usually it brings us in some kind of advancement. And many times with this stuff, it's with our jobs, right? With our careers. That's where we can see a lot of this. It's like we can do our jobs really well. A job well done gets that recognition, So and we can also see, like, how this is one of these ones with Saturn too, where it's not so like, oh, my responsibilities are completely overwhelming me and I have time for no fun. This one actually shows where we can fit in our responsibilities into our real world and still have time for ourselves. So we do want to live up to them. And because of that energy, this is a great time this week to really organize and plan things about what you want to do, how you want to advance in the world, how you're gonna, like, change your life. How this is the new organization, this is the new plan. Now, this, just like the Sun Neptune, this one does have a tendency to lower physical energy. It's not a high energy transit. This is the work of, like, step by step, plodding along. But once again, very enduring, very tenacious, very much like up for the challenge and not ungrounded about the way that it's approaching it. So the release of the energy is a little bit at a time. It's a slow release energy, right? And it's in there for the long haul. It knows that, like, that kind of energy is what's going to actually bring a lot of stability to the things that we are want, that have become important to us, that we're really trying to hone in on right now. So here, and this one too, when the sun is in sun and Saturn together, we are, like, the emotional part of us is mainly internalized, right? Like, that's really not where we're connecting with others. It's more on a practical level where we're connecting with others. The emotions we keep to ourselves, and we're dealing with our emotions mainly alone with this energy. And then you add in the sextile to Pluto too, the sun, going there too. And this is, once again, this shows that we are going to have opportunities to make changes, to make reformations to our environment, to the circumstances we're in, to relationships we're in. Any opportunity that you see come along and bring something to you where you're in a place of power all of a sudden, and you can use your power creatively and the knowledge and wisdoms you have, that's where you need to look for with this sextile, and take that opportunity. Because if you do that, it's going to make things better. It's going to reform circumstances. So jump on it right away is what I say, because it's going to bring improvements to your life and everyone else around you too. That's what's really cool about Pluto. You get these positive aspects or influence ripples out, and anybody that we're involved with personally, or in community, or in groups, or even society at large, our actions can really touch them too. It can really help them advance too, change situations for them too. So definitely a great time this week for cleaning up your life, for clearing things out, getting rid of the fluff and the clutter, really honing in. Find this one too, because it's two outer planets, finding groups that have similar intentions makes you much more effective. And that means you can advance even further if you can do that. And this is one, once again, to the sun with Pluto will internalize the mind and can bring us into some very deep places inside. It's really good for any kind of research, any kind of investigation into anything that we're attracted to, but in particular, anything that has to do with the human mind or psychology, understanding what drives people, even astrology, the occult, anything like that. That can help us transform, because in order to transform society, people within that society each have to transform individually first, and then it ripples out across. So that's what we got a lot of work for this week, and it's a serious energy, but it wants to live up to those responsibilities. It wants to bring in transformation. It wants to cut out the fluff and focus in on what it sees as important. And I think that just lines up so well with Mercury going direct, with the new moon that we just had, with the sun going into Aries, and the equinox, all new energy. And this works really well with that. It really says what's important to you. That's where you want to focus that new energy, right? So then we get this Venus conjunct Chiron. It's in Aries, and every year Venus conjuncts Chiron. And conjunctions, we feel, if we're looking at aspects and putting judgment on them and saying we have a negative pole and a positive pole, or what we like and don't like, or what we consider bad or good. Conjunctions are usually those, ones that can go both ways. And with Venus is conjunct Chiron, the first thing is that we're very sensitive to beauty. Like we're very perceptive. We see it in others. And sometimes even when others don't see it in themselves, actually, which is when we can be really helpful here. What we value as beauty is very subjective under Venus Chiron, right? And that's why sometimes when we point out beauty to others that they may not see in themselves, it's because it's something that we're valuing, right? But this also gives the energy, because it is into values that will fight for some kind of cause with this. And a lot of it, it's the kind of things that like are very personal, like, things that like, maybe like something like, for example, body shaming or something like that, something that we would fight for under this kind of energy. The thing is, with Venus Chiron, we're seeking love, Venus, right, from people that we value, actually, so it's really interesting. And this can definitely, what it does many times on a positive level is it connects us with people on a similar energy vibration to us. So that connection can feel really faded, but we're also very sensitive with this energy to disharmony, right? And therefore, what we want to do, especially with the Aries, is we want to really be active in trying to settling disputes between ourselves and others, or even between others, like being a peacemaker, being a mediator. And that's not an easy thing to do, like you got to brush up on your NVC for that. But this is like a time, Venus with Chiron is where we're learning a lot of our lessons through relationships, and we can definitely, if we can be more open in relationships, and we can touch people very deeply, and vice versa. And we can learn to be more harmonious with people the more we open up with this kind of energy. But we also have to be careful. It's like I said, we have a tendency to want to get love from people that we value with this one. So if we're valuing people on a superficial level, if there's some kind of glamour to them that we're attracted to, then this one can be like, we can use it in a very superficial way. And we may find out that we get hurt by those people, that they don't have the depth and sensitivity that we're feeling for them. So, and then just a couple other funny things about this one, on the negative side is with women, between women, it can bring up issues of envy, like between women. So that's something that's interesting. And for men, it can bring women into their life that are very strong, that they can get attracted to, but they find out really quickly they can't control that woman the way they may have been able to control women in the past. So there's some lessons definitely here in this energy of Venus Chiron. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention this month, on Friday, Mars is semi-square Pluto. Okay. So once again, this is not a good harbinger for the violence that's going on in the world right now. Okay. It's really a time where this whole week will probably continue to see a lot of violence. This is very frustrating energy. It feels like when you get locked into a power struggle and you're really not making any headway. Like it's just disagreements that smolder on and on. And look again, like at what the U.S. started 3 weeks ago in Iran has really turned into something that's very descriptive, or that energy is very descriptive of right now. There's a lot of energy that's put into confrontation and conflict, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of movement. And so it's a very challenging aspect, a very frustrating aspect, because it doesn't feel like anything we do is making good headway. And really, what happens with this one, too, and especially after Mercury retrograde, this is where you're going to see all the little loose ends and the decisions that you made, or in the situation like in the world, in this case with Iran, where all those things that you didn't really think out well come back and trip you up. And it can really stagnate the situation. I understand the U.S. is like literally thinking about just backing out of the whole situation at this point, which, it's just one thing, and that's what happens when you get frustrated. But people can definitely act very underhandedly in this energy, bring a lot of ruthlessness towards one another, and their actions can end up boomeranging back and being very self-destructive, not only destructive to their enemy, but destructive to themselves and the whole process. So, and then this is one where, yes, individuals do get sucked into greater world things, and and through groups that they belong through nations that they belong through their society. So on a personal level, you just want to be really careful again this week. If you know people or places where the proclivity for violence is higher, well, that's going to ratchet up even more with this energy. All right, so April, I wanted to do April this week too, because next week we have a full moon in Libra, and that'll take some extra time up. So April, there's only two things I really want to mention in April. So you guys remember Mercury just went direct, right? And that means that every planet is now direct for the next 6 weeks until May 6th, when Pluto goes retrograde. Every planet is now direct. And once again, how good does that align with like the sun going into Aries, new beginnings, the new moon, new beginnings, Mercury no longer retrograde, new beginnings, even this energy that I just talked about with the sun and Saturn and Pluto. This is when we're going to get the least resistance from the outside world this year. These 6 weeks of pushing ahead our agenda in relation to the outside world. So, whatever you want to get out there, this is full steam ahead these 6 weeks. This is when you really want to push that energy, push your plans out, the real world, activate them. This is when the energy is going to give us the least amount of resistance, and we can get it out into the larger society and get it out there into the world. And then that projects forward through the rest of the year if you take that action now. It's not that we're going to not meet resistance further down the road, but when you seed that action, when all the planets are direct, it's going to be a lot more effective. We have so many signatures again this week, together showing us that's time to move forward. It's time to go, 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 go on those new things. Get rid of the fluffy stuff that's slowing you down. And so the only thing going on this month with outer planets is a huge shift that I talked about in depth in the annual report. And I'm not going to go into it in the depth that I did then. So the annual report is still on the website. Uranus going into Gemini for the next 7 years on April 25th, right? And, this is a 7 year period where we are going to see incredible advances in technology, especially in communication, transportation, computers, things like that, man machine together, weaponry. That's the problem, though, too. Uranus in Gemini is very intellectually driven from both the planet and the sign. And it does not see, nor not even see, it's not even see, it doesn't take into account what the effects of all this new technology is on the emotions of people, on the world, on individuals themselves. So it can really, it's going to be a really interesting thing, but we're going to find all kinds of cutting edge new technology. And like, here's an example of something I read about not too long ago. So, we had the telephone, right? Before that, we had the telegraph. Before that, we had horses, right? Deliver mail. We had letters. We had things like that. And now, we have these phones. Like I'm recording on one right now, and it's video. So we've got two of our five known senses that we're cognizant of, like functioning now. And because of technology, you can see me and hear me. Well, they're working on communication right now where you're going to be able to feel me too, and I'm going to be able to feel you. They're getting the sense of touch. It's going to be transferred through electrical impulses, and somehow we'll be able to feel our loved one hug us from the other side of the world not too long coming into the future. So that's what I mean. We're going to see stuff like that's really just like, wow, this is something completely different. And, look at all the, moral challenges that that's going to bring in, like, to people, so like it changes things, this technology, but it's not really taking into account some of the impact on the psychology and the emotions of people. But this is going to be amazing time. There'll be a lot of innovation, a lot of creative, intellectually driven energy. And on an abstract level, you can also see where, Gemini, and it's a lot to do with our ideas and how we develop about what we're thinking about and how we even develop what our thinking patterns are. So I think we're going to be introduced to a lot of new ideas on the abstract level too, that are going to be, we're going to adopt them into our education, into our values, into our philosophy of life, ultimately, over this 7 year period. All right, well, that's what I got for this week. This is Matt Lutton. This is the Astrological Winds Channel. Yes, you are going to pass that link along right now. Yes, I know you've done it before, but you're going to do it again. If you'd like to give me a currency donation, no amount is too small, like even a few bucks. My Venmo is at the symbol at, and Matthew with two T's, hyphen in the middle, and then it's Lauten. And then my Cash App is just $, same thing, Matthew Lawton, but no hyphen, all one word. Like, like I said, even $5. And everybody who has given, and I know some of you guys are repeaters out there, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But really, if you want to pay me back the best, we all need to support each other this age of Aquarius. When you're ready for a reading, check out my website. Got a long menu there of all kinds of readings I give. If you haven't had your natal chart done by a professional astrologer, you need to get that done because it never leaves you with it your whole life. And if you don't know the energy that you have, then how can you work with it? And then every year around your birthday, get a predictive reading for the next year. It's just like I do this weekly for all of us, not predictive readings for a full year for you, so that you know the energy you're working with. Relationship charts, children's charts, elections for the best timing of things, specific questions, relocation charts. And if you have a group, I can do lectures, workshops, mini readings for your event. Even we can even do it through Zoom and things like that. And like I said, the big thing right now, we're about ready to launch live classes finally again on a beginner's level. I'd really like to find another person or two to commit, but it's going to happen, and probably during this next few weeks while everything's direct, actually. So not only a good time for me to start something, but a good time for you to start something. Oh, and the one other thing I meant to mention, I haven't gotten it up on the website yet, but if you're a professional, and you know, money is not, I'll be real about this, money is not that much of an issue for you, and you need monthly or weekly or daily readings to help you with your life personally or professionally. I do those things for people too. Just contact me. The website has one address, or my email here, mattthue823 at gmail.com. I'd love to be your personal astrologer. Seriously. I've done that do that for other people, and I'd love to do it for you too. So if you can afford that, or if it's even a time in your life where you think you just need that weekly or monthly or daily readings because it's such an important key point in your life, I'm available for that. It doesn't have to be a commitment of, oh my gosh, the rest of your life. But anyway, forget to put that out there sometimes. So anyway, pass that link along. Thanks so much. Next week, we've got the full moon at 13 degrees of Libra. We've got Venus going into Taurus. All right. Yay. Venus going into a sign that it absolutely loves. So, a couple really cool things to talk about next week already. All right, folks. Stay in touch. Pass that link along. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see y'all next week.